On an ordinary morning in a quiet neighborhood, a mother begins her routine. The house is still. The children are home. Nothing appears unusual from the outside. Caregiving is expected, trusted, and rarely questioned. But by the end of the day, that trust will be shattered, and a family will be permanently changed. What happened inside this home would shock the nation, forcing uncomfortable conversations about responsibility, mental illness, and how warning signs can be missed even when they are clearly present. Andrea Yates was a former nurse, wife, and mother living in Texas with her husband and 5 children. She was described as quiet, deeply religious, and devoted to her family. Andrea embraced traditional expectations, believing her role was to care for her children full-time. Over the years, the pressure of repeated pregnancies, isolation, and rigid beliefs began to affect her mental health. Family members later recalled noticeable changes in her behavior, including withdrawal and emotional distress. Despite moments of stability, Andrea struggled privately, attempting to meet expectations that increasingly overwhelmed her capacity to cope. Andrea Yates had a documented history of severe mental illness. After the birth of her children, she experienced postpartum depression that later progressed into postpartum psychosis. She was hospitalized multiple times, received psychiatric diagnoses, and was prescribed medication. Doctors warned that additional pregnancies could worsen her condition. Despite this, treatment was inconsistent, and periods of improvement were often followed by relapse. She expressed delusional beliefs and suicidal thoughts, clear indicators of a serious condition requiring long-term care. These warning signs were known, documented, and medically acknowledged, yet they existed alongside decisions that placed Andrea back into overwhelming caregiving responsibilities without sufficient safeguards. On the morning of June 20th, 2001, Andrea was left alone with her 5 children after her husband left for work. Over the next hour, she drowned each child in the family bathtub. Afterward, she called emergency services and then contacted her husband. When police arrived, Andrea was calm and cooperative. She openly admitted what she had done. The children were pronounced dead at the scene. Authorities immediately recognized the severity of the situation and took Andrea into custody. The event was handled without spectacle, but its impact would reverberate nationwide. Andrea Yates was charged with capital murder. Prosecutors argued that she understood the wrongfulness of her actions and acted deliberately. The defense countered that she was experiencing severe psychosis, rendering her incapable of rational judgment. Medical experts testified about her mental state, hospital history, and delusions. The case quickly became a national focal point, highlighting tensions between criminal responsibility and mental illness. In her first trial, the jury rejected the insanity defense and found her guilty, sentencing her to life in prison. The verdict sparked intense public debate and raised questions about whether the legal system had properly interpreted the medical evidence presented. The initial conviction was later overturned after it was revealed that expert testimony presented at trial was inaccurate and misleading. A second trial was ordered, allowing jurors to reevaluate the evidence through a different legal and medical lens. This time, Andrea Yates was found not guilty by reason of insanity, acknowledging that severe mental illness drove her actions. She was committed to a state mental health hospital instead of prison, where treatment replaced punishment. Andrea remains confined under medical supervision. The retrial significantly shifted public understanding, reframing the tragedy as a systemic failure involving mental health care, family oversight, and institutional responsibility rather than a straightforward act of criminal intent, and highlighted consequences of ignoring repeated warnings and medical expertise. This case remains one of the most painful examples of untreated mental illness colliding with expectation and responsibility. It challenges society to recognize warning signs earlier, strengthen mental health support systems, and confront uncomfortable realities often ignored. The tragedy forces reflection not only on legal accountability, but on prevention, medical care, family support, and the devastating cost of dismissing professional warnings when vulnerable lives depend on timely intervention, compassion, and sustained treatment